You know that feeling, right? You're like trying to do all the right things. You're eating well, you're exercising, but the scale just isn't moving. Or maybe those afternoon cravings just hit you like a ton of bricks.
Oh, absolutely. It's super frustrating. And your energy levels are just all over the map.
Exactly. It honestly feels like your body has a mind of its own sometimes. Maybe even like it's working against you.
It's a really common feeling, yeah. And you're right, it often does feel like something internal is just, out of sync, makes all that effort feel less impactful.
But what if it's not your body being stubborn? What if it's just reacting? Reacting to the signals you're sending it? Because the food you eat, it isn't just like fuel or calories, it's information.
Powerful information, actually. It speaks directly to your hormones. These are your body's chemical messengers. They run the show for everything from metabolism to hunger, fullness.
And crucially, how and where we store fat.
Exactly. So these messengers, they need clear signals. When they get supportive signals from your diet, your lifestyle, things tend to work better.
But if the signals are chaotic or disruptive,
that's when it feels like that constant uphill battle you mentioned.
yeah. Okay, so that's our mission for this deep dive then. We want to pull back the curtain on that whole relationship. We're going to look at how different foods directly influence those key weight-related hormones.
Yeah, the big ones, like insulin, leptin, ghrelin, cortisol, even estrogen, and what that actually means for, managing your weight.
Right. We've been digging into a bunch of sources, different guides, some research excerpts, all focused on healthy eating, weight control, and this whole complex world of hormones.
And the goal is really to boil down the key insights, help you understand the connection and find practical ways to work with your body, not fight against it.
Okay, let's start with the basics. Hormones. You said chemical messengers.
Yeah, exactly. Released by glands, travel through your blood, telling different parts of your body what to do. Think of it like your body's internal internet.
Got it. So for wheat and fat storage, who are the main players we need to know about?
Well, our sources point to several key ones. There's insulin, ghrelin, leptin, cortisol, estrogen, testosterone, and also thyroid hormone. Each has a really specific role.
Okay, let's break those down. Insulin first. I hear about that one a lot.
Right. Insulin comes from the pancreas. People often call it the storage hormone. Its main job is to get glucose sugar from your food out of the blood and into your cells for energy or for storage.
The storage is fat.
Well, it directs storage, yes. Critically for weight, it promotes storing energy as fat, and it also kind of tells your body, hey, don't burn the fat we already have stored.
Ah, okay. So if insulin is high all the time, you're basically locked in fat storage mode.
Pretty much, yeah. Then you've got ghrelin and leptin. They're like the appetite control team.
The hunger and fullness guys.
Exactly. Ghrelin is made mainly in the stomach, signals hunger to your brain. It's the, hey, feed me hormone. Leptin is made by your fat cells, and it signals fullness, satiety. It tells your brain, okay, we're good, stop eating.
Ideally, they're in balance. One says go, the other says stop.
Precisely. Then there's cortisol. Everyone knows that one. The stress hormone. Comes from the adrenal glands.
Right. Fight or flight.
Yeah, essential for short-term stress.
Yeah.
But if it's high chronically, like from ongoing stress, that really impacts where you store fat. It tends to push fat storage towards the belly area.
The dangerous kind of fat. Right?
Visceral fat. And high cortisol can also ramp up cravings for sugary, fatty foods.
Okay, and what about estrogen and testosterone, the sex hormones?
Yep. They're made in a few places, including fat cells, actually. They definitely influence your metabolism and how fat is distributed in the body. Imbalances, like the natural changes that happen with age, are often linked to shifts, like more belly fat.
And thyroid hormone, that's metabolism speed.
You got it. From the thyroid gland, sets your overall metabolic rate. Too low, metabolism slows, easier to gain weight. Too high, it speeds up, might cause weight loss.
Wow. Okay, you can really see how if any one of these messengers is off, or if the signal isn't getting received right, managing weight would be incredibly difficult.
Totally. It's like trying to drive somewhere with a GPS that's constantly glitching. You might feel hungry all the time, even if you've eaten, or never feel truly full. Or your body just keeps prioritizing fat storage no matter what you do.
This makes me think about something one of the sources mentioned, the yo-yo effect. That awful cycle where you lose weight, but then it just seems to bounce right back, sometimes even more.
Yes. That's a classic example of your body's physiological response kicking in.
Yeah.
And it's very tightly linked to unstable blood sugar, often triggered by diets that are too restrictive or eating patterns that are just all over the place.
Okay, walk me through that cycle. hormonally? What's happened?
All right, so imagine you drastically cut calories, maybe carbs especially. Your blood sugar can drop pretty low.
Okay.
Your body senses this dip and goes into sort of a survival mode and might start breaking down muscle for energy, which you don't want. And it sends out powerful signals, intense hunger, major cravings, especially for quick energy.
Like sugar and carbs. Your body's panicking a bit?
Kinda, yeah. So when you're starving like that, you're way more likely to reach for something high sugar, high carb, quick fix.
Right.
That floods your system with sugar, causing a massive blood sugar spike. Your pancreas sees this huge rush and pumps out a ton of insulin to deal with it.
And insulin says?
Insulin says, whoa, lots of energy here. Store it. Store it as fat. Especially because, hey, based on this crazy eating pattern, who knows when the next fuel is coming?
Oh, man. So you end up storing fat, maybe you lost muscle during the restriction phase, and you're metabolically kind of worse off than before.
Exactly. It's a vicious cycle. So the principle the sources really hammer home is the opposite. Keep blood sugar stable.
Stable blood sugar. Why is that so key?
When your blood sugar is steady, your body is just much more willing to burn fat for fuel. It helps you hold onto that precious muscle mass. Those crazy cravings tend to fade, and your energy levels are much more consistent through the day.
So you want like rolling hills, not jagged peaks and deep valleys for your blood sugar.
Perfect analogy. Those big spikes constantly tell insulin, make fat. Big dips can trigger muscle loss and make your body cling to fat stores. Stable blood sugar is like the calm, foundational signal your hormones need.
Okay, this makes a ton of sense. So how do our actual food choices play into this? How do they either help keep things stable or, send those disruptive signals?
Right. This is where it gets really practical. Let's circle back to insulin and those blood sugar spikes. Eating carbs, especially the refined ones and added sugars, think sodas, candy, white bread, pastries that directly tells your pancreas to make insulin.
And if that's happening all the time?
Constant insulin production. Over time, your cells can actually start to tune out the message. They become less sensitive. That's insulin resistance.
Ah, I've heard of that.
Yeah, so your body then has to pump out even more insulin just to try and get the same job done to get blood sugar down. And since high insulin locks you in fat storage mode and stops fat burning, insulin resistance is a huge hurdle for weight management.
So limiting those refined carbs and sugars is step one.
Definitely. The sources strongly recommend limiting free sugars, the ones added to foods, not the natural ones in fruit, to less than 10% of your total daily energy, ideally even under 5%.
Okay, less than 10%, ideally less than 5%. Got it. What about the hunger and fullness hormones? Leptin and Ghrelin. How do we mess those up?
Well, inconsistent eating is a big one. Skipping meals, eating at totally random times, that can really throw them off. Also, just a generally poor quality diet, low in nutrients.
How does that affect them specifically?
With obesity, for example, the body can become leptin resistant. So your fat cells are making leptin, sending the I'm full signal, but the brain isn't really hearing it effectively.
The message isn't getting delivered.
Pretty much. And one really interesting detail from the sources, inflammation plays a role. In obesity, inflammatory markers like CRP, that's C-reactive protein.
Inflammation marker, right?
Yeah. It can actually bind to leptin in the bloodstream and physically block it from getting to the brain to signal fullness.
Wow, inflammation is literally blocking the I'm full sign. That's wild.
It is pretty wild. And meanwhile, ghrelin, the hunger hormone, might not decrease properly after a meal, making you feel hungry again way too soon.
Man, okay. And cortisol, the stress hormone. How does food impact that?
Well, things like erratic eating, skipping meals, even relying heavily on processed foods can actually be perceived by your body as physical stressors.
Really? Eating processed food stresses your body out?
It can, yeah. So that can trigger cortisol release. If you're also dealing with chronic life stress or you're eating erratically all the time, your cortisol levels can stay elevated.
Which means more belly fat storage and more cravings.
Exactly. More cravings for those high sugar, high fat comfort foods, which then spike your blood sugar and insulin. You see the cycle. It's tough.
And none of this happens in a vacuum, right? Like, sleep must matter too.
Oh, massively. The sources really emphasize how interconnected it all is. Poor sleep throws off leptin, ghrelin, and cortisol, plus it makes your cells less sensitive to insulin. Chronic stress hits cortisol, insulin, other fat-storing hormones. And obesity itself can create this ongoing state of hormonal imbalance and low-grade inflammation. It all feeds into itself.
Okay, so we've painted a picture of how things get disrupted. Let's talk solutions. The good news, what foods send the right signals? Let's build our yes list.
Okay, great. The core idea here is focusing on nutrient-dense whole foods. Foods that promote that stable blood sugar and give your body the building blocks it needs for healthy hormone function.
What's number 1 on the list?
Lean protein. Absolutely vital. It has a minimal impact on insulin, which is great. And it's key for satiety, feeling full and satisfied.
How does it help with fullness?
Eating enough protein helps trigger the release of hormones that signal fullness to your brain. Helps you feel satisfied longer after a meal.
Okay, so what counts as lean protein based on our sources?
Think chicken, fish. The sources say aim for 3 or more fish meals a week if you can. Eggs, lean cuts of beef, lentils, beans, tofu, plain Greek yogurt, poultry in general, shrimp or prawns with the shell on, crab, lots of good options.
Good list. What about fats? We hear so much about healthy fats now.
Essential. Absolutely essential. Your body literally needs dietary fat to produce hormones in the first place. Plus, fat slows down digestion.
Which helps with blood sugar stability.
Exactly. Keeps things nice and steady. And fat definitely contributes to that feeling of fullness and satisfaction after eating.
So which fats are we talking about? The good ones.
Yeah, the unsaturated ones primarily. Things like avocado, olive oil, nuts, seeds, chia, flax, hemp are fantastic fatty fish like salmon and mackerel. The sources also mention canola, soy, corn, sunflower, and peanut oils as good choices. Key is replacing saturated and definitely trans fats with these healthier, unsaturated fats.
Okay, protein, healthy fats. Vegetables and fruits seem like a no-brainer, but what's their specific hormonal role?
They're the backbone, really, mainly because of fiber. Fiber is incredible for slowing down how quickly glucose, sugar, enters your bloodstream after you eat.
Preventing those big insulin spikes.
Yeah, exactly. Plus, fiber feeds your good gut bacteria. And we're learning more and more about how a healthy gut microbiome influences hormone balance, inflammation. It's all connected.
So pile on the plants. Any specific amount.
The general guideline is aiming for at least 400 grams a day. That's roughly 5 servings. And eat the rainbow, get lots of different colors for a wider range of nutrients.
Good tip. Oh, and one source mentioned potatoes.
Yeah, interesting point. While potatoes are vegetables nutritionally on things like the healthy eating plate model, they often don't count towards your veggie goal because they can have a pretty significant impact on blood sugar, more like a starchy carb.
Good distinction to make. Okay, what about other carbs then? Should we avoid them entirely?
No, not necessarily. It's about choosing the right kind. Complex carbohydrates and in moderation. These give you sustained energy without those sharp insulin spikes you get from refined carbs.
So what are examples of complex carbs?
Think whole grains, quinoa, brown rice, oats, barley, actual whole wheat bread or pasta, sweet potatoes. The key words are whole or intact grains, not the processed, refined versions.
Got it. Any other foods on the yes list?
Fermented foods get a shout out. Things like plain kefir, plain Greek yogurt, sauerkraut, kimchi. They're great for supporting that healthy gut microbiome we mentioned, which indirectly helps hormone balance.
Okay.
And we shouldn't forget micronutrients. Minerals like magnesium, zinc, vitamins like vitamin D, and the B vitamins, they act as crucial cofactors, like little helper molecules that enzymes need to build and regulate hormones properly. Found in nuts, seeds, leafy greens, lots of whole foods.
Okay, that's a powerful yes list.
Yeah.
Lean protein, healthy fats, tons of fiber from plants, smart carbs, some fermented foods, and making sure we get those micronutrients. Now, the flip side, the no list. What's actively disrupting things?
Right. These are the foods that tend to send those confusing, disruptive signals and make weight management feel like that uphill climb.
I'm guessing sugar is high on this list.
It's top of the list. Added sugars and refined grains. They are the main culprits behind those rapid blood sugar spikes and the big insulin surges that follow, telling your body to store fat.
Examples.
Sugary drinks are a big one. Candy, pastries, white bread, most breakfast cereals you find in boxes, white pasta. And remember that goal. Keep those free sugars under 10%, ideally under 5% of your daily intake.
Okay, sugar and refined grains out or minimized. What about fats to avoid?
Trans fats are the big one to avoid completely. Look for partially hydrogenated oils on labels that's trans fat. Also, be mindful of excessive amounts of certain processed vegetable oils that can promote inflammation.
Where do we find those usually?
Often in ultra-processed snack foods, fast foods, commercially baked goods like cookies and cakes. Sticking to whole foods helps you avoid them naturally.
Makes sense. What about drinks, besides sugary ones?
Excessive alcohol is something the sources highlight. It can negatively impact your liver function. And your liver is super important for metabolizing hormones, breaking them down and clearing them out when they're done.
So if your liver isn't working well, hormones can get out of balance.
Exactly. Plus, alcohol disrupts sleep, which we know is bad for hormones, and it can increase cortisol, potentially contributing to belly fat. Moderation is key.
What about artificial sweeteners? They're calorie-free, so are they okay?
The sources suggest caution. While they don't have calories, some research hints they might negatively affect your gut microbiome and maybe even insulin sensitivity in some individuals. It's probably best to just try and reduce your overall reliance on super sweet tastes, whether from sugar or sweeteners.
Interesting. Anything else on the limit or avoid list?
Yeah, limiting processed meats, think bacon, deli meats, sausages is generally recommended, along with keeping red meat intake moderate. And watching your salt intake. Aiming for under 5 grams of sodium per day. That means cutting back on added salt, salty sauces, and obviously salty processed snacks.
Okay, so it's less about labeling foods good or bad in some moral way, and more about understanding which foods send signals that help our hormone system work smoothly, and which ones just confuse it or disrupt it.
Precisely. It's about giving your body the signals it needs to function optimally. So, okay, we know the yes list, we know the no list. How do we actually do this day to day?
Yeah, the practical side. I need some tools.
The sources offer some good ones. One really simple visual is the healthy eating plate idea. Picture your plate. Aim to fill half of it with non-starchy vegetables and fruits.
Half the plate. Go do.
Then a quarter of the plate with whole grains and the final quarter with healthy protein. Use healthy plant oils like olive oil for cooking or dressings in moderation. Drink water, coffee, or tea mostly.
Half plants, quarter grains, quarter protein. That's easy to remember.
It really is. Another tool is portion estimation. One source gets really specific with food units, measuring weights and volumes. But a simpler method also mentioned is using your hand as a guide.
Your hand. How does that work?
Like, your fist is about the size for a portion of carbs or fruit. 2 cupped palms for a serving of vegetables. The palm of your hand for protein. And maybe your thumb for a serving of added fat like oil or nuts. It's just a rough guide. Not exact science, but helps keep portions reasonable without needing scales.
Fist for carbs, palms for veggies, palm for protein, thumb for fat. That's super practical, actually. Can you give us some meal examples? What would a hormone-friendly day look like?
Sure. Breakfast could be something like scrambled eggs with spinach and avocado, maybe on a slice of whole grain toast. You've got protein, healthy fat, fiber, complex carb. Balanced.
Nice.
Or one source even suggested maybe some whole grain bread with a bit of lean beef stew and beans more savory, but hits those notes too.
Okay, lunch.
Maybe a big salad loaded with greens, other veggies, grilled chicken or chickpeas for protein, and a simple olive oil vinaigrette. Or think about brown rice with stir-fried shrimp or lean pork and tons of colorful vegetables. Again, hitting protein, complex carbs, healthy fats, lots of fiber.
Yeah.
Could be baked salmon. Great healthy fats and protein with roasted sweet potatoes for complex carbs and steamed broccoli. Or maybe a sweet potato with grilled chicken breast, a side salad, and some black beans. You see the pattern. Protein, complex carb, healthy fat, lots of veggies.
Yeah, balanced whole foods. They sound good too. What about snacks? Do we need them?
Snacks can be helpful to keep blood sugar stable between meals if you choose wisely. Think plain Greek yogurt with some berries and chia seeds. Great mix of protein, fiber, healthy fat.
Good one.
Or even a protein powder drink, maybe blended with unsweetened milk or water. Maybe add some fruit like a pear for fiber. The key is a snack that provides sustained energy, not a sugar rush.
Right. It's not just what we eat, but how and when, and other habits too, isn't it?
Absolutely critical. Lifestyle habits are huge for hormone balance. The sources list several important ones beyond just food.
Okay, lay 'em on us.
Eating frequency comes up, suggesting maybe 4 to 5 smaller meals or snacks throughout the day instead of just 2 or 3 huge ones. This can help manage hunger and keep blood sugar more even.
So eating more often, smaller amounts.
Potentially, yeah. The advice is often to try and eat before you get absolutely ravenous and stop before you feel completely stuffed. Listening to those cues.
Tuning in more makes sense. What about timing?
Meal timing is mentioned too, like trying to get some protein in within an hour or so of waking up to help set your blood sugar for the day. And finishing your last meal at least, say, 3 hours before bed gives your body time to digest so it can focus on rest and repair overnight.
Good point. What else helps the system?
Simple stuff, but crucial. Hydration. Drinking enough water is foundational for everything, including hormone transport and function.
Okay, water. Check.
Sleep. This one is non-negotiable. Aiming for 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep per night. Lack of sleep just wreaks havoc on cortisol, ghrelin, leptin, insulin sensitivity, everything.
Sleep is key. Got it.
Regular physical activity, exercise is amazing for improving insulin sensitivity and has positive effects on lots of hormones. Moving your body regularly.
And I bet stress management is on the list.
Oh yeah, big time. Chronic stress means chronic cortisol, which we know is disruptive. So finding ways to manage stress is vital. Things like positive thinking practices, getting outside for walks, connecting with supportive people, deep breathing exercises, identifying what your main stressors are, all mentioned as helpful.
So managing stress isn't just nice to have, it's biochemically important.
Absolutely. And a couple final habits. Conscious eating, really paying attention to your food, chewing well, noticing hunger and fullness, and preparation cooking at home more often gives you control. Reading food labels helps you make informed choices.
Wow. This has been incredibly insightful. It really shifts the focus, doesn't it?
Yeah.
It's not just this vague idea of eating healthy, but understanding how food communicates with our body's internal control system.
Exactly. It's not just calories in, calories out in a simple equation. It's about the quality of the information, the signals those calories carry. By choosing whole, nutrient-dense foods and being consistent with eating patterns and lifestyle stuff like sleep and stress, you're actively supporting your body's natural hormonal harmony.
So you're not fighting against your body's biology. You're learning its language. You're sending it the clear, supportive messages it needs to work with you for more sustainable health, sustainable weight management.
Beautifully put. So maybe here's a final thought to consider. That feeling we started with, like your body's working against you, maybe it's not some mystery. Maybe it's just your hormones responding quite logically to the signals they've been receiving from your daily habits.
So the question becomes, what new signal, what supportive signal are you going to choose to send your hormones?